Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. We got another edition of the AP Film Room. Not the happiest edition of the AP Film Room. I'm wearing all black for a reason. It's a funeral of a show. It's not a great week. Not a great week to be a Chiefs fan. Still, every week's a great week to be a Chiefs fan. What am I saying? But Chiefs blow that AFC Championship to the Bengals 27-24 in overtime. We're gonna look at it a little closer, but before we do, I'll start with my guy Talon. First of all, shout out Talon. This dude is working hard for you people out there. Diving into the draft film Sunday night. I mean, that's just amazing. But Talon, before you dove into the draft film, just take us through how you kind of took in that collapse Sunday.
The play to end the first half really kind of changed my mood a little bit. Like I started to worry a little bit then. Like it was almost eerie the way 11-point lead, exact same spread as the last game going into half. And I was confident that we had the ball. I thought, okay, let's kind of shake what happened. And then, the interception happened. It's like, oh, hoo-hoo. Okay. So yeah, it just wasn't good. But no, I guess overall, it was a shame. I mean, definitely not the expectation that I had going into this season, but at the end of the day, this team has accomplished a lot recently. So there's not much to complain about right now. There were some big miscues that happened, and there's obviously some corrections to be made, and there's some pieces that need to be looked at now from the front office point of view. So off season's here.
It's off season time, baby. It's a good time. It's fun to get into the draft and free agency, but I know it's not always fun. Getting to that point, Brian. How did you take Sunday's loss?
So it's not as bad as I've taken some of the losses in the past, for sure, especially pre-Super Bowl. Not that I've seen as many as a lot of Chiefs fans, especially ones who might be watching, but it was just so weird how that game, and if you go year by year, how teams will show exactly who they are, and it'll almost show up, in that under that grand scope. That game, it felt like what we had kind of seen from the big picture all year. Just a lot of forced errors on their part. I mean, credit to the Bengals who are going to the Super Bowl, and their fans should be really pumped up. But nobody watching that game came away thinking that the Chiefs shouldn't have won. Like they absolutely beat themselves, and that was kind of the story of a lot of the season, especially when things were bad. Sometimes you just can't outrun. It's like you can't outrun those narratives that get built. And for whatever reason, this team, that was an issue for them, just shooting themselves in the foot repetitively. And it finally caught up to them. It shouldn't have, but it did. And we're going to talk about it tonight, of course, and it's going to be rough. But after this, we'll move forward, and there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to with this Chiefs team. I know people are down right now, but that is the reality. That's not, we're not sugarcoating when we say. I mean, the future is promising. So,
Of course, yeah. No, it's a different feeling to have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback when you lose in the playoffs because you have every reason to believe that it's not going to be the last time you're in the playoffs. No, and we're all fans here, but it is kind of as an analyst now, we all get we all do this for a profession a little bit. There is something to wanting to see how your favorite team collapsed, right? Not just seeing it and being like, oh my gosh, and not wanting to see anything. I kind of was excited. Not excited. Excited is not the right word, but I was anticipating wanting to see exactly how my favorite team blew it and missed out on winning a Super Bowl. But first of all, we talked about the offseason. Orlando Brown Jr. is one of the hottest topics for offseason Chiefs talk because he is an unrestricted free agent as of the beginning of the 2022 calendar. Obviously going to be a franchise tag candidate. They traded for him last offseason. You don't really want to just let him walk after trading, draft capital for him. He had an up and down day against Cincinnati. And Brian, you are going to be looking at him a little closer. We're going to start here with this play. It's actually a Trey Hendrickson sack in the fourth quarter. You have another play too earlier in the game. I maybe could have started with that one, but I'll let you unless you tell me, Brian. We're going to start with this one.
No, this is appropriate, and it's coming full circle for me. The first article I wrote for AP was about Brown leading up to the season and how I thought he might fit in, and I was really excited about it at the time. But I did even say back then, like, the one concern is going to be the scheme fit, and are they going to tailor the offense to fit the offensive linemen that they have now? And Sunday, you saw a little bit of the good and you saw a little bit of the bad. It's not all Brown's fault. I need to say for the viewers who may not know, I mean, he's facing number 91 most of the day, Trey Hendrickson, one of the best edge pass rushers in the whole league. I think he had 15 sacks. Just an absolute freak, strong, fast, a little on the short limbed side, but like uses that leverage to his advantage. So he had it quite the challenge across from him, and did some good things that I'll show in the article this week, and some not so good things. So this play here, the one sack that he did give up, there were a few plays like this that just didn't end in sacks. But the common theme that you'll find, and it's no surprise to those who have followed us for a while or the Chiefs closely, is that foot speed, that athleticism component is where you can beat Brown. And I guess what's scary about that when you talk about extending him, especially in the long-term picture, is he's not going to get more athletic at this point. It's very unlikely. I mean, maybe if he was to lose, X amount of pounds, yeah, maybe a little bit, but then you're taking away from other parts of his game. And so I don't expect that to happen. But one thing I want to talk about as it pertains to this play is, because it's not all Brown's fault. If he's in an offense where they do run the football downhill, it's a little less of the, RPOs or, just more intentional about running the football and instilling their will on the opponent. I think he would look better consistently. But the reality is can we trust Andy Reid? Can we trust Patrick Mahomes to ever really play offense that way, in the way that fits him best? I don't know. And so that's why it's hard for me. I think right now, and I'll talk about it in the article, I think right now he is a prime franchise tag candidate. Put a Band-Aid on it for a year, give him a chance to show, okay, can he get better at this with another year in the offense and more nuanced in his approach? But it's kind of scary, just as far as the whole long-term extension thing, because I question the fit a little bit, but I also do see the traits that they really like. So it's just a tough decision, and I'm interested to hear where you guys stand on it, as you kind of saw what happened Sunday.
Yeah, no, it is an interesting decision for sure, because you don't want to have to change your offense to fit your left tackle. You want your left tackle to be able to, fit in the offense you want to run with your quarterback and your play caller, what they've been running the past however many years. And so that you do have to just balance what you value in your left tackle. I would think when you have Patrick Mahomes, you'd value pass protection, right? You'd want a guy that is going to excel at keeping him upright in the pocket, and maybe that comes at the expense of run blocking. Well, they're kind of doing the opposite here if they do choose to franchise tag him long term. So there is some where, it's kind of just up in the air in that aspect of, he just hasn't, he is better at one thing. That's just not what the Chiefs really need him to be better at. And that's where I do think they could maybe emphasize the run game a little more next year, and then that would help him as well, obviously. But that's the thing. Talon, when you think about Orlando Brown Jr., we've seen him all year. You've broken him down a few times. Do you have, a determination on what you would do with him this offseason, or are you still kind of, up in the air? Because I kind of am, to be honest with you. I'm kind of sitting the fence a little bit, but are you definitive one side or the other?
I'm really starting to lean toward keep him, when really most of the year I've been on the fence at best, more so leaning toward this isn't the guy. But as the season has progressed, as we've watched film, and as you know, and the key thing here that I think has really kind of started to sway me is let's look at the alternatives. Is Orlando Brown ever going to be the best tackle in the NFL? Probably not. You know, but when you look at off-field stuff and his leadership skills and all that work ethic, you know, I think that's gonna weigh in and make it okay for the coaching staff and the front office to sign this guy and say, yeah, he's not going to be number one, but he'll be consistently top 20. And you know what? In probably his prime, he's going to give us top 10 tackle play. Those guys don't grow on trees, right? Like when you look at the tackles across the league, there really is a lack of elite tackles. You look at Tyron Smith, he's really dealt with injuries lately. He's starting to get up there in age. Trent Williams for the 49ers, kind of the same deal. He was elite this year, but how many more is that going to, you know, I believe he's like 33, 34 years old maybe. And then, you know, guys like David Bakhtiari, there really isn't an elite left tackle that I can really think of right now like there used to be. So if we get rid of Brown, who do you replace? Who do you put in there? What's plan B? And that's where the tag comes in, obviously. And like Bryan said, you use that to give yourself a year to maybe find a replacement. But at this point, I would be okay with a relatively, you know, long-term deal, maybe 4 years. Let's give this guy they went the distance with Eric Fisher. And at this point, I would give the edge to Orlando Brown as a better overall tackle than Eric Fisher was.
And I would agree. And that's a great point. You know, because Fisher was definitely good enough for this offense, right? And I do think, you know, they were different style of players. Obviously, you know, Fisher a little more, you know, lighter on his feet, that kind of thing. But I think that's a great point. And Bryan, we got another play here we want to look at. I think this might be, you know, where we kind of see where Brown excels, right? Maybe a little bit more. And also featuring a nice play by Michael Hardman. But take us through this.
For sure. The Fisher thing that I was thinking in my head right before you said that, like, I say all these things, you know, do we keep him, do we not? But the reality is Brown is, in my opinion as well, a better all-around tackle than Eric Fisher was. And it's a premium position. I was talking to a buddy of mine just a couple of days ago. And, you know, even though I'm a little worried about what the future looks like with him, if it's a big contract, you don't know what's behind door number 2. And that's even scarier. Like they already have other needs they need to focus on. So great points. But as far as this play goes, I really want to highlight, you'll see him do that little hand flash. Okay. He flashes that hand. And I thought he did this a couple times and beat Hendrickson on both reps by using this to his advantage. It's just more of a savvy, nuanced thing that I hadn't seen him do a whole lot early in the year. I think he's kind of adding tools to the shed. So when you talk about, okay, if Veach does sign him for 3, 4 years, 5 years, he's not doing it because of what he's seen so far. He's doing it because of what he thinks he's going to be. And it could just be that they think he can continue to add little things like this that'll help him work through some of the athletic deficiencies and be a better player, because you see what that does is it kind of makes Hendrickson show his hand and lean into Brown, but he leans into nothing because, you know, he flashed the hand, pulled it back, right? There's nothing to really run into except for his big body. And so he didn't invent this by any means. This is something he's learned from other tackles, but it's exciting to see. And it goes to prove that point you mentioned, Ron. Like, this is a guy who he's going to do the work, and he's a pro's pro. Veach pretty much said that today, leader in the room. And so fans, you know, in me included, as somebody who's nervous about the long-term decision, you got to keep in mind, if they do sign him, it's all about the projection. It's all about what they think he's going to be. And a good left tackle is worth a lot of money in the NFL. So I guess what I'm saying is I get it either way, and plays like this give a lot of hope, and you see the results on the back end of it to support that.
Yeah, no, hey, I love that breakdown because that does prove I think something that makes and Talon detailed it, but you know, something that Veach will probably value is that he's going to be a leadership type of guy, a leadership by example, and working hard and studying film and critiquing yourself and being able to have a tool in the tool shed, as you said, Bryan. I love that, by the way. Add a tool to the shed. His ability to do that is impressive. But before we move on from just offensive line talk, Talon, this play is actually a pretty good example of just how good the offensive line played in general on Sunday. It was actually, it's probably going to be one of the more under discussed points of that game is the offensive line did their job for the most part. Obviously we just saw Brown, give up a sack, but most of those sacks were on Mahomes holding the ball on way too long. The run game was great. I just wanted your impressions. I mean, what did you like? Obviously you probably like what you saw from the line, but just how impressive were you? And I don't know, man. I mean, how excited should we be about the future of this line as a group, as a whole?
Yeah, I was impressed with the offensive line and how they performed in the finale. That there wasn't much you could ask for, man. And you said it, man. A lot of those were covered sacks or just Mahomes being indecisive and holding the ball too long. But and yeah, man, the running game was there, and I know it's going to be tough to see it from Reed, like you said, Ron. And when you coach that long, you get set in your ways. But man, I would love to see a re-emphasis and a recommitment to the running game, because when you have that line in front of you, you invested a first-round pick in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Why are we not utilizing these weapons that Veach has given you? And I understand that Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill, they're the marquee guys. They're who people buy tickets to the show. But the tickets aren't going to, keep coming in if the W's aren't there. And I think the recommitment to the run game for next season should be an emphasis for this coaching staff, because when you look at the tools in front of you and the running back room they had this season and the performance of this final game, and you look back and you self-reflect in the offseason as a coaching staff, what can you do different? I don't know how you walk away from this game and say, we should have ran the ball more. And to me, I think that's what the offensive line provides for this team, is a chance to be a 50-50 team with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. And that's dangerous.
Yeah, especially because all year we talked about how defenses were kind of, wanting to play to almost allow the Chiefs to run. And, they could run it and it could be efficient, but they still weren't like dangerous with their run game. Kind of like, obviously, like, no one's expecting them to be the Ravens, but, like a Ravens or a Browns, where like their run game literally, gets them explosive plays, gets them 20-plus yard plays. The Chiefs just still don't have that, even though they absolutely could with their offensive line, with their, not their running backs. I think Jerick McKinnon, has showed that he can kind of be that kind of guy. But yeah, I think it's something that you kind of have to focus on in the offseason, and it's a mindset, a culture thing. Like, hey, we're going to be a more downhill run team, not necessarily meaning we're going to run the ball more than we have before, but we're going to stop running freaking, outside zone RPOs where the line doesn't even know if they're going to run or pass. We're going to allow the line to get comfortable and fire off the ball and dominate their, line of scrimmage like they can, because we've seen them do it with two rookies on the line. I mean, and Niang. I mean, I really think Lucas Niang is going to, especially as a run blocker, I think he's going to add just the same thing we've been talking about with that power, that strength. We've seen it before he got hurt, obviously, but all right, enough offensive line talk. We spent a lot of time on the offensive line, which is obviously important. But I'm gonna throw it back to you, Talon, because we're gonna talk about the pass rush a little bit here for a couple clips. A pass rush that obviously played, I think, a lot better than the box score would show, but I still don't think they'd. I'll let you get into it, but it's weird. It's kind of a weird game for them, right? It's hard for them to deserve credit, but it's also hard, to blame them too much at some points. Talon, but this is a sack by Melvin Ingram here, actually the only sack of the day on Joe Burrow. Just take us through why you wanted to talk about this play.
Yeah, so first of all, it's a play action pass, and Melvin Ingram reads this really well. He dissects it and is able to kind of tell that this is not a true run play off the get go. So he's able to really get off the ball once he dissects his play right. With Burrow's back steel turn, he's able to get advantage on the right tackle there. But yeah, what I love here is, given his age and given the fact, the lack of defensive edge depth for the Chiefs, this is why you bring a guy like this back, even, though his twilight years are probably, in the rearview mirror, this guy still provides a spark. And when you talk about leadership and you talk about guys that are, potential replacements on the defense, you need a veteran leadership quality guy like Ingram who can still provide production up front, just like this. You need something like that in the locker room, and I think this is a guy that you look at and as he's pretty important to this defense, and right now I don't know if that's something you really need to send out the door.
Yeah, I think he finished the season stronger than Frank Clark did. And Frank Clark's a guy that obviously means a lot to this locker room and stuff, but he's under contract. But they could definitely they'd have to eat a little money to get out of that. But if it means that if Ingram cannot be signed because of the Clark stuff, and they have the chance to maybe choose Ingram over Clark, I would think at this point you'd want Ingram, right? Even though Ingram's a little older. I don't know. I might be just talking for myself. Obviously, you can say if you agree with me or not, Talon. I don't know.
I mean, at this point, it's definitely worth a look, and I think it would be a toss-up if you were to put a vote out on Twitter or something. I think you'd get pretty close to right down the middle of who they would prefer, Melvin Ingram or Frank Clark.
Yeah, let's just combine them, and I think we get the best of both worlds.
There we go. Problem solved.
Brian, do you agree or disagree with me while we talk about that?
So I think that Clark, as you alluded to there, middle of the season when he kind of was working back from that injury, and it was around the Giants Monday night game, like that was his peak. But as the year went on, I felt like reviewing, the defense that he slowed down a little bit, got fatigued. Who knows? Maybe there's little lingering things going on. But that's the issue with Frank. For all the great things that he has done from time to time for the Chiefs, there's just always kind of something nagging at him, and so when you ask me that question, coming from the perspective of, hey, I kind of feel like this defense needs some new blood, not because I don't appreciate what the other guys did. I just think that with Mahomes, to keep that hunger and that edge and that to keep that complacency from seeping in, you got to turn some things over from time to time. But Melvin's only been here for half a season, not even. Half a season. And he's still hungry for that ring. And I think he'd be a great voice in the D-line room. I think he would be the voice if they bring him back. So if the money's the same, I am 100% ready to go with Melvin, even at his age, over Frank.
It's funny you mentioned the hunger for a ring. I literally just, honestly, just a few hours ago was just kind of thinking about things and just how upset Melvin Ingram probably was, because he really probably thought he was getting his first chance at a Super Bowl. And I bet he was one of the most distraught guys in the locker room after that game, because you're right. There is nothing that matches the hunger of trying to get that first ring. And, it's no fault of their own, but most of these Chiefs on this team have won a ring already. And that it's just hard to match that hunger, that motivation for it. And, there are, guys like Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, there's a bunch of guys that haven't won a ring, but I kind of felt for a guy like Melvin Ingram, and maybe that is something where it motivates him to come back to Kansas City and try to, this is probably going to be his best bet at winning a ring, no matter where he goes. Right. So I think that might be of prime importance to him. Real quick, before we get to the Talon's second play, I did want to point out, speaking of Willie Gay, he makes a great play here, actually helping Melvin Ingram get that sack. Look how quickly he covers the check down target. And Burrow actually wants to go there real quick, and he just sees Willie there and has no choice but to eat the sack. So shout out Willie. And also I just wanted to say Turk Turk is just he's just a monster, dude. He's so bendy. So for a D tackle, man, he's a fun guy. Obviously he's kind of getting put into the dirt, but just the fact that he gets to Burrow at all on this play is pretty cool. So just wanted to shout out those youngins. Say you can follow that up if you want while I pull up this next play.
Yeah, it is kind of funny to think about when we went into this season how impressed we were with the depth of D-line. I felt like that was one of the biggest strengths of this team, with Mike Dana and Turk and Okafor and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know what grade I would give the D-line for the 21 season overall, to be honest with you.
Yeah, one of my main takeaways, one of the things that we learned, I got 5 things we learned from the game this week. was that the defensive line or the pass rush, I have to say, just isn't as dominant as we perceived or as we all thought. I thought it was going to be the most dominant pass rush the Chiefs have had in the Mahomes era, and production just doesn't match it. And a lot of their production did come against worse quarterbacks, right? A lot of their, and the whole defense as a whole, you can say that about. Down the stretch, they did play, a lot of, not so good quarterbacks, and a guy like, the times they did play a Dak Prescott, he didn't have a couple of his receivers, and so it is interesting, but we'll talk one more play about the pass rush. This one is not as fun to talk about. Talon, what did you see from this opportunity of Chris Jones this is a 3rd and 7, by the way, I believe early in the fourth quarter, 3rd and 7, this could have been a huge stop for the defense, and I believe this actually led to the game go-ahead field goal, I should say. So, Talon, what did you see from this play?
Yeah. I think at this point it was still 21-all. And man, if Jones, this reminded me of the Eli Manning escape in the Super Bowl when they beat the Patriots, the David Tyree catch. But obviously not as big of a stage. But man, when you got a guy like Chris Jones, you just expect plays to be finished, right? Like, and he had a chance to finish his play twice, and it just, man, it just speaks to the volumes of the competitiveness, the athleticism, Joe Burrow, man. This is 100% a positive play on him. I mean, I'm not really sure what else Chris Jones could do here. I don't know. I mean, I look at this, and Chris Jones really puts the right guard. It makes him look like a junior high kid playing his first rep, and he gets in the backfield so quick, and he does everything right, but he doesn't complete it. And then not only does he not get the first time, he has the wherewithal to stay with the play and chase him down and barely miss the second time again. So I don't know, man. It's hard to be mad at Jones in this play, but at the same time, an all-pro caliber player, it's kind of inexcusable to think this play doesn't get made.
Yeah, no, at some point you just have to finish the play. You're right. I think it's almost like a cornerback, a guy like Charvarius Ward for a lot of his career, hey, he's in position to make a play. The ball just never gets jarred loose, right? It always gets caught somehow. Obviously this is, Chris Jones usually finishes these plays, so it's a different comparison, but it's just, Chris Jones has not had a sack in his postseason career. Aaron Ladd, our new AP contributor, actually was the one who tweeted that out, and that shocked me. That absolutely shocked me. He's had some dominant postseason games, and to tell you the truth, this one was, a player a finish or two away from being, a very dominant. Where we're talking about Chris Jones, kind of winning this game for the Chiefs a little bit in the second half, because he was dominating. You saw it right there. I mean, 79. That was happening almost every play a lot of the time. This was a really hard play to watch, especially in person. Arrowhead going crazy. You think you get the sack. Yeah. Oh God, I'm reliving it now. Bryan, we're talking Chris Jones. I mean, like I said, zero career playoff sacks. Like, is there anything to that, or were you impressed with the pass rush, or I don't know. What's your thoughts on just how the pass rush looks right now, and honestly, what it could look like a little more moving forward? I know we've talked about it a little bit, but
man, I'm glad you said that about the no sacks thing, because I was already thinking before we started to talk that, listen, people got to be careful not to get too wrapped up in the sacks thing. And I say that because, like, let's think back a couple years, not to go too far down memory lane, but in Super Bowl against San Francisco, Jones, they don't win that game without him, in my opinion. If you remember, he was a big part of the reason why Garoppolo got intercepted by Bashaud Breeland. He knocked down 2 passes at the line of scrimmage down the stretch when they really needed stops. And bringing it back to Sunday, dude was dominating whoever lined up across from him. And unfortunately, he just didn't finish the plays. And you got to finish the plays, right? Like, him not getting this sack is – like, if he gets the sack here, they probably win the football game, I think. But on the other end of it, I got to give Burrow a little credit. I think that one of his best traits is this right here. Like he makes up for some of the things he can't do. He makes up for with his ability to make the first guy miss. It's honestly top 3 in the league, probably. He's so good at making that free rusher miss, especially when he can kind of see him coming like he does there. So I'm going to give him some credit too. But, for those fans out there who are like, well, let's get rid of Chris Jones, I'm telling you, a 2022 season without Chris Jones is not what the Chiefs need to do, and they're not going to do that. So if you're one of those people, probably need to let it go. I would say.
Yeah, no. If with all the defensive overhaul that may happen, he is not going to be one of those guys. He's still, I mean, there is only one other player that can do what he does from an interior defensive line position in the NFL, and that's Aaron Donald. There's guys close, but there's just no one as disruptive as he is consistently. Actually, real quick before we move on, just wanted to show this little Andy showing a little quick feed on the sideline here, little skirt right there. So shout out Andy. Had to keep it interesting, but I stopped that one on a light note because we are getting into a very dark place here on the AP Film Room, and that is the last 2 plays of regulation for the Chiefs. I am going to break those down, and it won't take very long. But just fair warning, it will disgust you. We love Patrick Mahomes. He is the greatest quarterback in the NFL. The first half, he was the greatest quarterback in the NFL, and might have looked, as Bryan tweeted actually during the game. I don't mean to bring that up, Bryan, but he looked like almost maybe the best he's ever looked. There were 3 touchdowns, and then that 3 touchdowns, 3 drives, and that 4th drive was the drive right before half. So first of all, we'll start there. This is not that play, but that's just on Mahomes for either not understanding the situation. It looked like he might have thought there was a timeout. Did you guys see that? How he was calling? Yeah, okay. I was at the game, so I didn't see that, but I saw people saying that. That makes me think that either the coaches, I think that might be on the coaches too, not communicating, making sure he knew that there was 0 timeouts.
And there was that sketchy challenge that had gone down earlier, the lost timeout or whatever happened there. So I wonder if that played a part in him thinking that's why he thought they had another one, because
Yeah, no, I think that might be right. And that is a botch on the coaching staff's part, Andy Reid's part, taking a timeout instead of just challenging the play. That was pretty ridiculous. So it is hard to maybe he did think they had another play, or another timeout. So in that case, the play wasn't actually that dumb, because you do want to just, if there really isn't anything open in the end zone and you do have another timeout, just see if Tyreek can get there. If he gets tackled real quick, you have time to call a timeout. But this play is the second to last play before overtime. It was 1st and goal. They ran it, so 2nd and goal from the 5, and it is an RPO. And hey, he does pass for a reason, because he does see that the flat is going to be kind of open, so he can choose to throw it to McColl here. And McColl does have an angle. I know 21 beats on this pretty good, but Mahomes has the arm. Just throw it to the front pylon. Just throw it to the front pylon, and this is a touchdown. And he just doesn't. And I get it. Maybe, you're trying to be conservative. You don't want to, because if that ball is thrown inside, right? If that ball is thrown short, or, where 21 can cut it off, that's an interception. That's it's a very backbreaking interception. But Mahomes should have the supreme confidence in his arm, and a confident throw scores a touchdown here, because McColl does have a beat to the front pylon. 21's not going to cut that off if the ball is thrown correctly with the velocity Mahomes can put on it. So it's I can see why, right, that maybe he hesitated a second. It does maybe, maybe Brown's block maybe obstructs his view from where 21 is for a second. So that one's a little more seizable, but I do think a confident Mahomes, which he obviously was not in the second half, a confident Mahomes scores a touchdown there. First of all, do you guys have any rebuttals to, am I maybe stretching a little bit? I mean, could that maybe be just a throw that shouldn't be made and maybe is a little too risky? Talon, what do you think?
No, I mean I would be fine if that's the attempt. You just have to put it in a place where it's your guys getting it or it's incomplete. You can't underthrow that because if it's undercut, that's probably a pick six. So yeah, I understand the hesitation, but man, an elite quarterback makes those plays, and an elite quarterback doesn't hesitate to make those plays. So yeah, kind of it's a little unsettling to see that. I'm not gonna lie.
Bryan, feel free. I mean, because I do see, where I want to make sure I'm being fair and I'm not just kind of maybe over expecting things from Mahomes. Is this a throw that you think he can and should make?
Yes, hesitate is the word, man. That's the word that I guess as we see it now ended the season, because this style of play from Mahomes is the style that popped up when things weren't going so good. And we've talked about it ad nauseum. Like, it's that hesitation where you can just tell he's like, I don't want to push it. I might throw an interception. I've already thrown an interception. I'm telling you, when he gets into this mode, it ends up with worse results. He just has to trust it. He's got to let it rip. Now, in his defense, by this point in the game, everybody could already see that he was in this funk. And that's where I want to say, hey, let's not call an RPO on the 5-yard line where it's already going to be harder to read it out and see, where these defenders are going to be in tight space like that. So that's where these coaches are doing their scheme evals. They're looking at, the offense they ran this year. And as we kind of were talking about earlier, man, I think they've got to take a step back, swallow their pride, and say, okay, this RPO stuff, maybe we just need to cut back on it a little bit. We don't have to trash it.
Yep.
But we need to be prepared and have an offense where it doesn't have to be all these hesitation type plays, because RPOs, they set you up. They set a quarterback up to hesitate a little bit when they're not confident for whatever reason. But hopefully this is the last time we see it, but they got to prepare for anything as a staff.
Do you guys think he has a shot at Blake Bell at the end zone at the end of the play there, right before he goes down?
Where is Blake Bell? Oh, okay.
Blake Bell's right at the goal line now, and you can see a lane right there.
Whoo.
I mean, I know. I don't know what exactly is, and what Mahomes can see and what he can't see, but I don't know.
Hey,
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that there again. I think when he's feeling himself, that's something he might try.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, though, is I do think in the when we're talking about, like, he was a little flustered, you could tell at this point. I think his mind just went straight to, as soon as he started scrambling here, he's like, okay, I can't mess this up. I need to just get down and get a sack. I can't, I can't throw the ball away. I can't do incomplete because, they want the clock to run. So I think you're right. If he was feeling himself, he's confident. Yeah, I think he's always looking for the throw, right? But I think, I really do think he just kind of put too much on his plate a little bit in terms of, he tried to do too much, and we've seen him do it a lot in the past, but not in these big moments. It really seems like he's always been able to find himself and do just enough in the big moments and not try to do too much. But this was his first real bad example, and this was the worst one, guys. And this one really drives me crazy. It really does. We know the Chiefs love to run these high-low concepts, right? It's probably their most run pass pattern in terms of, they're going to have a receiver on a shorter in breaking route and a receiver on the same side on a long, an intermediate in breaking route. And they want to put a linebacker, just a second level coverage defender, in a bind, right? Am I going to take this underneath route and give a little more space to the route behind me, or am I going to kind of get deep and let that underneath route work? Well, in this one, he has a chance at both of them, and he doesn't take it. So let's focus in on Travis Kelce, where he's out on this play. Oh, let me pause, please. There you go. Kelce is running that in breaker over the middle, right at the goal line, right? That linebacker between him and Mahomes, he doesn't really follow Kelsey's route. He stays pretty much where he sets himself up. He doesn't move really. He's kind of in that middle of the hashes, even maybe a little closer to the right hash. And he's really not, I especially with Mahomes' ability to kind of move or kind of keep linebackers with his eyes. This play is easy for a confident Patrick Mahomes. Kelsey is open right there, right at the goal line. Wilson, I think that's Wilson. Honestly, it might be another linebacker. He's not getting in that window. He really isn't. And let's see the end. You can't see the route in the end zone angle. That's the only problem. But is that Hubbard? Wow. Okay, so that's a defensive end. That's actually the one that he's putting in a bind. He's not going to be able to close that window. He's just not. This is a touchdown. And like I said, you can't see Kelsey on this angle, but it's there. It's there. It's a touchdown. This is a game-winning touchdown. Okay, so he doesn't hit Kelsey. All right, fine. Let's focus on Byron Pringle on this play, who's running the deeper of the two in-breaking routes. He's not open initially, but once I think that's is that Wilson kind of taking away Kelsey at the very end there at the goal line. Once that happens, Pringle has the space. Just he jumps up at first. He's not really that open when he's like jumping up and down. I mean, he is open, and a good throw gets him a touchdown. But even right here, like look how much space he has towards the front of the goal line or front of the end zone. Look where Mahomes is. He has no pressure. He has all the time in the world to scan where everything is at. And honestly, Byron is breaking right into his line of vision. And we've seen him make this play countless times, and we've seen him have this vision, this otherworldly, all the entire field vision, wherever he is in back behind the line of scrimmage. He just doesn't see him, I guess. And I hate this end zone angle because you can't see where Byron is as he's doing this, but I mean, he is always looking downfield. I mean, his eyes are glued downfield, and he's not able to see Byron come open. It's almost it is baffling. It really is, because it does seem like a confident Mahomes. He passed up 2 touchdowns. I mean, we've seen Mahomes make these plays routinely. I mean, just not even without thinking. I mean, this play to Kelsey is like nothing to him. And it's the primary route too, right? It's not like I'm stretching and saying, this guy on the backside post, that he's not even supposed to be looking at was open. No, this is the main passing concept, something they've run over and over and over again to get yardage, 10, 15 yards all season. And when it mattered most, Mahomes just didn't want to throw it. And this is a lot worse than the last play we just saw, because I don't think there's any dispute that these were, at least Kelsey for sure was open. Pringle got open in the scramble drill. And getting off my soapbox, fellas. I just put you guys through a lot reliving this horrific moment. But Bryan, let me ask you, like, how concerning is a play like this for just like going forward for a guy like Patrick Mahomes? We haven't ever seen him really kind of come up short in a moment like this. And I don't know, what are your just initial thoughts on him having kind of a bad spot like this?
When I watch this play, I can only assume, because you're right, Ron, that's the first read. That's who you want to get the ball to there, and he's open. So the only thing I can think is, in his mind, before that ball snapped, he's basically telling himself, the only thing I can do wrong here is throw an interception.
Yeah,
that's the approach. As a guy who's like, as long as I don't throw an interception, we're going to get our field goal. We're going to go to overtime. Just playing not to screw up. And nobody, as sick as it is to watch for us right now, nobody is sicker watching this play than Mahomes is, guaranteed. So what you got to hope is that moving forward, you want him to remember this, and you want him to remember the next time he has that feeling creep in about making mistakes, like, sometimes you make a lot bigger mistakes by playing that way. A lot of times you do, especially when you're as talented as he is. I feel so bad for the guy, because I know in his head he felt like he was doing what was right for the team, and then you look back and it's like, no, this cost him. This absolutely cost him the game, and This play, all it should have been was if the first couple reads are open, hit it. If not, run forward. Make sure you don't lose yards, don't fumble. And we didn't get – I mean, that's clearly not what happened. I don't know. It's gutting to watch.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. That's the thing. It is just – he should know that if his first couple reads aren't open, like there's no reason to be just kind of twirling around back there. And he almost, loses the game just right then and there by fumbling the ball, inexplicably trying to throw it as Hubbard is tackling him. Who's he trying to throw to at this point? He's 50 yards away from the sideline. Oh man, Talon. You can just tell I'm just, kind of losing my mind as we go through. I keep playing this over and over for us. What are your kind of thoughts on, or, I kind of just the same question I asked Bryan, like, does this like change your mind at all, I guess, about how we think about Mahomes, or like just how invincible he is, I guess, whatever. Just go wherever you want with this.
This is just bad football, and 15 is not above critique, and that goes with a lot of the coaching staff as well. But we don't need to get into that at this point. But on this is just a poor play from a quarterback, and I think it's just he's on his head, and does it change my opinion of him at this second? No, but this 2022 season, he has all off season. He has, all preseason, all up until the opening game, whenever that may be, to correct this stuff, not fix it, correct it. A fix is temporary. When you fix something, you're eventually going to have to fix it again. But when you correct something, it doesn't happen anymore. So this is something that needs to be corrected instead of fixed. So moving forward, if this stuff continues to happen, the worry meter is going to start going into red. But if it gets corrected, then he's taking the next step in his quarterback development.
It just seems like we haven't seen this from him. And I really do think the 8-man coverage is just really messed with him. The Bengals did a really good job. But, the Chiefs have to be able to counter that. You can't be thrown off that bad. But, it was literally the worst half of football he's ever played. And it can't just be one mix-up in coverage that makes you play that bad. I did have the overtime interception to look at, but I think we've been disgusted enough. And also my laptop's going to die in a second now. So, no, I real quick, I just wanted to take time to make sure we thank the viewers. We get likes on YouTube. We see your comments. We see how many views we get, and we appreciate that, guys. We really do. We're just guys that love football, love the Chiefs, and want to look at it a little closer than the typical person that watches football does, right? And so wanted to take time real quick, give you guys opportunity to say what you want to say after a long season. We started this in the middle of the season, and actually we started winning. The Chiefs started winning as soon as we started this video. So it's been kind of a fun run for us, kind of breaking down that win streak and now breaking down one of the worst plays in the Mahomes era to finish the video 2022 season off. But Talon, I'll start with you, man. Appreciate your work this season, and how you can just tell the viewers how you feel about just go where you want. I'm losing my mind. This play made me lose my mind.
No, yeah, definitely. Just to piggyback off Ron, man. I appreciate all the views, all the comments, positive and negative. Man, if you're commenting, you're engaging, man. And I know some of y'all, you hold us to high standards, and we try to live up to those. But just remember, we're just guys that love football, so we're learning here, and we just happen to have a platform. And feel free to always chat with us in the comments and stuff. But let's try to remember that obviously it's. Nobody knows everything, and we all, none of us are actually experts, but we're trying to get there. So I love the engagement. I love the fact that we've been able to kind of build this thing as the season goes on. And in terms of Chiefs, man, and how they're feeling, I think moving forward, they're going to be fine.
Well said. Bryan, take it away. Say goodbye to the people.
First and foremost, definitely appreciate anyone taking the time or who has previously took the time to listen and watch. And, I know we'll be doing stuff this off season. And I guess that's my leaving message. My thing I would want fans to understand is this is going to be a fun off season, and there's reasons behind that. It's not just because, we still have Mahomes and he'll bounce back. And, I believe in all those things. Yes, but they're going to have a lot of money to play with. Veach, we know after 4 or 5 years of experience now, he's going to do some really good things, I think, and getting better in the draft too. A lot of good draft picks at their disposal. And the thing I talked to you guys about earlier, next time you get on Facebook, you get on Twitter, and you see somebody say, "Oh, the Chiefs window's shut because Mahomes' contract, he's about to cost $1 billion on their cap." Well, that's not true. And that contract, as risky as it could be, because you're counting on a guy to be a superstar for 15 years plus, that contract's amazing for this team. And let's just say I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not going to bet against them. I think they're going to be right back in the thick of it next year, and I can't wait to do more of this stuff for all the fans out there. So, yeah, thank you.
Yep. No, it'll be a fun off season going into a fun 22, hopefully, 2022, I should say. So this this video is actually ending just like the Chiefs season in a great ball of fire because my laptop's about to die and I can barely see your guys' faces anymore. So ending it here. Thanks everybody. Appreciate you guys. We're not going anywhere. We'll be back doing other stuff, draft breakdowns on the YouTube channel and stuff. But for now, for breaking down Chiefs film, it might be a while until we're looking at that again. So for Bryan, for Talon, for Ron, appreciate you guys watching this year. And we will catch you next time we're on the YouTube channel. Thanks.